All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano. It is live time, drive time. That's right, folks. I'm coming to you live from the streets of Orange County, California. And this is the backup channel full of the Fullerton former YouTube channel, folks. This is the WIKIJOE YouTube channel. And I am looking at a very heavily dosed sky with a lot of stratospheric aerosol injections dumped up there, folks. And this is how they do it. This is what they do, folks. They take our rain and dump it where it doesn't belong. And that's why the breadbasket's underwater. That's right, the Midwest flooding is in full swing, folks. And our breadbasket's underwater. Wells are at risk. Millions of animals have been killed, and they continue to divert all of the moisture up and over California where they don't need it, and they keep it from where it does need to be dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've got going on here is a nightmare. All right, and it's been a long time in the making, and it's really, really scary, because they are now really showing what they can do to us. You know, I've got a lot of advice for a lot of my listeners, and you know, the first and foremost piece of advice I have is make sure your spiritual house is in order. Because, you know, if your spiritual house is in order, then even in difficult times, you can keep your house in order, folks. And we're going into them. You know, there is no shortage of nightmares that are on the table right now for us, folks. I don't mind telling you that these Midwest floods are not, they're no accident, okay? Now, I will tell you, like I had mentioned before, as a child, I was able to tell, based on how the apricot trees performed, what kind of a year we were going to have with the fishing off the Southern California coast. And I began to realize that you know, how the ocean currents run, and the connection to the El Nino and the pelagic migratory patterns off of our coast, and the types of fish and the timing of the fish runs. I was very well connected to nature as a child, folks. I still am. And like I said, you know, during October, I was catching bonita anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds off the end of the wedge in Newport Beach. And it was a sign of a very strong El Nino condition. And we are in an El Nino weather pattern, regardless of what the USGS or the National Oceanic Administration tells us, or the National Weather Service cares to admit. I know what we got going on. You want to know why? Because the fish don't lie, folks. The fish respond to consistency and anomalies and the predictability of the weather based on the migratory patterns of the fish off of Southern California has been 100% accurate in my lifetime. And so right now we should still be getting rain in California, and the sky is literally blanketed in these aerosols. We still have a subtropical moisture component trying to hook up with cold fronts out of the Pacific Northwest, desperately trying to hook up, like teenage boys are trying desperately to hook up with teenage girls, right? As they look at each other across the dance floor at the prom, right? You know, there's that tremendous attraction and this invisible barrier between them, right? Well, I'm going to show you how they keep these things apart. Look at the sky, ladies and gentlemen, from falling here, and they make it go up and over the mountains, up and over the Sierras. Look at the sky, folks. Look at it. That is not normal. However, it is for the weather controllers. Now, let's put this back. You got a little taste of Southern California sky there, folks. That's looking west towards Los Angeles from Orange County. They mean business. So do we. We mean business as well. Go out and buy a good supply of grains and beans and dried goods and canned goods while they're still dirt cheap, folks. Because part of this scam is to keep the prices low and to keep the apparent supply artificially high, to leave everybody high and dry when the day comes when the chickens literally come home to roost. I mean, I can't believe the corn futures aren't going through the attic, and the commodity futures they're not even responding to this. It's unbelievable. So to all my listeners out there, you should have a year's supply of food in your house for everybody under your roof. A year supply per person. You got to have food in your house, folks. Rotate it, go through it. Don't just stockpile it. Use it. Incorporate it into your routines, but you got to be able to survive. To those of you who are flooded out, you got to get out of there. You got to pick up your stakes and go where you can go. But to the rest of us that are still in a decent position, wherever you are in the world, ladies and gentlemen, you need to make sure that you don't end up having to resort to criminal activity to survive, okay? That is your moral duty to your fellow human being, is to make provisions so you don't have to turn on your neighbor. And in doing so, you can provide for your neighbor when that day comes. And it will come, folks. It's an inevitability, because here's the deal. They have plans to get us off the land and into these large cities where they erect these towers, weaponize the lighting, weaponize the water, weaponize the frequencies, weaponize even the air we breathe, and control the food supply. They can, under whatever auspices they deem necessary, under whatever emergency edict, like the Model States Emergency Health Powers Act that gives draconian powers to enforcibly vaccinate and inject people. We've got these issues with vector control and departments of agriculture at the state and county levels that have unprecedented intent to spray chemicals all over the place. I mean, it's really something else, right? You know, last summer it was slash and burn, and now it's flood and churn, folks. You know, water is the most powerful force on the face of the earth. And I've just given you a quick demonstration of what they do by spraying metallic compounds into the stratosphere and through various interactions with phased array, radar, and Doppler systems and ground-based microwave superheater systems. They can control the jet stream, which is basically a river of water in the air. And they can control where it decides to go. They can control the atmospheric conditions that leads to precipitation, and they can dump it anywhere they want. It's literally like remote controlling a dump truck and saying, okay, here's where it's going to empty, and that's what they do, and it's happening. Now, of course, it's common sense that you know, when I'll give you another view of what we got here. Look at this. Okay, look at those power lines, by the way. How'd you like to live? I'm in La Palma right now. Look at the sky, folks. Look at the sky. Can you see the sky? Look at this stuff. Okay. All right, that's the sky in Southern California, ladies and gentlemen. And you can start to see some of the scalar waves on the chemtrails and all these other things. I mean, there's all kinds of telltale signs the weather's being manipulated. What I'm getting at here, folks, is we've got some solutions. You know, you can buy buckets at Home Depot dirt cheap with lids on them. You can buy oxygen absorbers online really cheap. You could buy those desiccant little packets that you can keep, the little silica desiccant package with oxygen absorbers, where you can get a lot of storage out of a little bit of investment of dry goods that are already pre-packaged for consumption. You can get 5 years out of some beans at the 99-cent store, and all you need is water, and boil them, and you got yourself, you've got yourself protein, folks. You're going to have to learn to live without meat pretty soon, because it's going to get very expensive. Because not only are the heads all underwater and the offspring underwater, but the silos that feed the heads and the offspring are underwater. So we got no babies, we got no mommies and daddies, and we got no food for them. So unless somebody's got some three-dimensional printing system that can create cattle out of nothing, we're going to be in for quite a shock coming up here, folks, because the United States is going to see a strong deviation from the norm in terms of affordability of what we've taken for granted. And it's time to get ready. And I encourage my listeners to get ready, ladies and gentlemen, because one of the problems we're going to face is a cliff of sorts that they're not letting us realize is imminent, because they're continuing the price controls and keeping food dirt cheap, and we're going to be left in a Venezuela situation here with an abrupt disruption to the food supply. So to all of you out there who are listening to me, I strongly suggest that you do your homework and get your hands on as much storable food as you can. And it makes me sick to see how much of this stuff ends up getting thrown away. I have people that work in retail, grocery, wholesale. I know a lot of people, folks. I have a lot of connections. And a good percentage of the food in these grocery stores ends up in the trash. Roughly 30% of the produce is thrown away. That could be jarred and preserved with vinegar and salt and various pickling mechanisms. You can jar and preserve vegetables, cabbages, root vegetables, all kinds of things. And as far as the dry goods, pastas, grains, beans, legumes, those are easy, folks. Those are really easy to preserve. All you need is a good tight bucket with a good seal and some oxygen absorbers and some silica little packets, and you're in business, folks. And all you got to do is keep the bugs out and the rats out, and keep it out of the heat and the extreme cold. If you can keep that in your bedroom closet, you're in business, right? A couple 5-gallon buckets of beans and rice. Just start making preparation, folks. I'm not selling any products here. All I'm doing is dispensing information. Why? Because it's common sense, and they're not talking about this stuff, folks. We've got at least 1 million acres of farmland underwater right now, ladies and gentlemen. And at least 1 million livestock heads are gone. And, we've got the same nonsense on TV, the same talking heads, reciting the same mantra of worthless, deviant information, and our breadbasket is being turned into a mud bath, folks. That's right. Our breadbasket is being turned into a mud bath. At the same time, Trump's talking about shutting the border down with Mexico. Is that going to make everybody happy? That the food supply is going to get cut off from our southern border? Almost half of our imported fruits and vegetables come from Mexico. So almost half of our imported fruits and vegetables are going to be cut off in a couple of weeks. At the same time, the breadbasket's underwater, and the meat supply and the grain supply is in question. And we don't even have the snow melt acting yet, folks. All of this moisture is being redirected over California, up and over us, and being dumped where it doesn't belong. And this will be compounded by the snow melt that comes in the spring. So this flooding is only going to be exacerbated by warming weather. We've got levees that are literally referred to as Swiss cheese now. It's amazing how many billions and billions and billions of dollars the treasonous United States government gives to foreign countries in the form of foreign aid when this place is falling apart. and our breadbasket is underwater. It's no wonder, you know, when I look back at how the treasonous government agents in California set up the development of this massive amount of farmland and abandoned the impressive ideological intent of feeding the nation with the rich farmland of Orange County and the abundant water, and opted for concrete and asphalt and tract homes and a tragic kingdom in place of the once fragrant orange groves. It just goes to show how to this day they're still selling us out as all of our infrastructure rots and falls apart. People are dying, livelihoods are dying, and there are no restrictions on foreign acquisition of farmlands. There should be a law against foreign countries buying up our farmland, folks. And yet it's going to go on the auction block. You're going to watch it be bought up for pennies on the dollar because the weather warfare is just one of the many ways that these international hedge fund guys come in and buy up beachfront and coveted farmland for pennies on the dollar after it's wiped clean after an engineered disaster such as a flood or a hurricane or even earthquakes or tsunamis. There's not a lot we can do, folks. I can't stop these planes from their stratospheric aerosol injection activities. I don't have the ability to do that. You can try to get your elected representatives to listen to you, but unfortunately most of them are Manchurian candidates that have been sold out for 40 pieces of silver. And they're not going to stop it. We have to stay one step ahead of their plan to get you into a FEMA camp and a forced vaccination line by keeping you out of the bread line, folks. Because, you see, what's going to happen is if you end up in a position to where you have to go to one of these facilities for a good night's sleep and a hot meal and a cold shower, one of the conditions of entry is going to be roll up your sleeves and take one for the team into your bloodstream. Right? Oh, sure. Because after all, the outbreak that is going to ensue from this engineered series of floods will be genetically engineered gene drive inserted mosquitoes that will carry the new plague, that will be the precursor as well as setting the pretext for the forced vaccinations, because there's going to be coming to a city near you an outbreak that has resulted from all this record flooding, right? All this rot and filth and breeding of mosquitoes and all this standing water is going to give rise to, you guessed it, a pandemic. Now, they're also discussing bird flu drills. Now, get this, folks. Get this. If the grain silos are underwater and the cattle are underwater and the calves are underwater, and now they're talking about bird flu, now are they going to force, not only are they going to close off our southern border and block the importation of 40% of our imported fruits and vegetables, now they're going to probably be talking about a bird flu to where they're going to destroy all the poultry. You know, it's amazing how you can go to the 99-cent store and get literal boxes of pasta and bags of avocados and bags of eggplant and bok choy and carrots and cabbage and cauliflower. Literally a buck a head for everything, folks. A bag of oranges, a bag of apples for $1. Well, you know what that, let me tell you something, folks. It ain't $1. It may cost $1, but because the borders is wide open as a drawbridge in Manhattan, let me tell you something, folks. That's the cost. We pay for the costs in other ways. The food's dirt cheap, but the open borders costing us quadrillions of dollars. Figuratively, folks, with all of the social costs we pay for the illegal immigration. But we are enjoying some cheap food, and that's about to come to an end because the cheap food is about to be shut off, and the food that we normally otherwise pay a decent price for is about to be eviscerated. You need to get ready. Okay? You need to get ready, folks. I'm warning you. You need to have at least a year's worth of food in your house per person, and you also need to have something to defend it with, which are weapons, ladies and gentlemen. Buy as many weapons as you can while they're still legal. Buy as much ammunition as you can while it's still legal, folks. You have a right to self-defense. You have a right to feed yourself. The people that are in control of things, have you noticed, and by the way, we are going to be facing a lot of cyber attacks in the near future here, because that's another part of this equation. And those that come and pose as our saviors are the villains. Just like those that wrapped themselves in the American flag on September 11th. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen? No difference here, folks. Nothing is new under the sun. Can you guys hear me okay? I can't see the comments. You want to just get ready, okay? And you got to hold your ground, and you got to make preparation. You know what the Bible says? A foolish man makes no provision for his home, and a prudent man foreseeth evil, and hideth himself, and maketh preparation for him and his home. Look, folks, the handwriting's not on the wall. The handwriting's on the billboards with neon lights. The bread basket's underwater. And the border's about to get shut down for food importation. And the chickens are next for the chopping block. And it is not going to be to the chicken nugget machine, folks. They're going to go to the incinerator. You're not going to get to eat them because they're going to come out with some bird flu pandemic. And they're going to shut down the chicken supply too. Stock up. Learn how to freeze dry, learn how to can, learn how to jar, learn how to prepare, ladies and gentlemen. And learn how to rotate your canned goods. Look, at this point, you know, we got to look past the fact that it's not organic and that there's glyphosate. Listen, you got to eat, okay? I mean, what's the option? There is no option, folks. I'm just giving you some good advice. In addition, you know, we're going to be experiencing interruptions in the electrical grid. You're going to have alternative sources of energy, lighting, power, you know, refrigeration. You need to have a generator or two. You need to have a lot of batteries. You need to have some solar panels to charge things, and water filters, because if we haven't, you know, one of the most important possessions you can own besides a Bible and a firearm is a water filter. Because if for whatever reason we have contamination in our water system, or intentional poisoning or contamination of our water system, you need to be able to filter water and be able to drink it. And you need to invest in a good gravity filter, okay? Something you pour water in the top, and through silver impregnated ceramic filter elements will remove pathogenic organisms and contaminants. You owe it to your family, folks. Stop spending money on $80,000 cars and relying on your ATM card to keep your family alive, because that's what most people are doing. I want my listeners to break their conditioning and look over the horizon that's actually a cliff. And it does not need to be a death sentence to those who are prepared. Most people have the latest and greatest electronic gadgets and newfangled cars, and if the water got shut off, they wouldn't know what to do. I'm telling you, store up on water, you know, save your bottles, fill them up, put them somewhere, have some extra bleach around. You can disinfect water with a couple of drops of bleach and then filter it. Look, folks, this stuff is dirt cheap insurance policies I'm talking about here. I'm not selling you anything. By the way, it's all for naught if you're not right with God. And like I talked about this morning, the television needs to go, folks. Because all of the time you waste sitting in front of that thing is time you need to be spending on making preparations for all of the aforementioned items I've discussed in great detail. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. Coming to you live under a chemtrailed sky that is blocking the moisture from dropping here and is heading where it doesn't need to go, folks. We need to be in prayer for all of the Fullerton and former family and all of you out there, that things will change in your lives as a result of what God has shown me and what has been allowed to change in my life, folks. Pray for wisdom and pray for protection, and pray for my family and myself for continued provision and protection. And please feel free to reach out and contact me if you so feel inclined. Once again, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. Coming to you in the name of Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, with nothing but good intentions, wishing for the best. May the road rise with you, and may the wind be at your back, ladies and gentlemen. That's an old Irish blessing. Part of my roots, folks. God bless and good day, ladies and gentlemen.